we have moved on to the office of Gary Cornwell, a very good minister here and a man of God who likes to call us to prayer. Gary Cornwell. Let's start at the very beginning of your life. We're assuming that you have a birthday.
Yes.
And what date is that?
Well, it was the day that I was born.
Well, that narrows it down.
To answer your question, December the 30th, 1950 was the year that I was born, along with my twin sister, who was 15 minutes preceding me, and I was always the baby there after that.
Yeah. I would hear that from the younger of twins. It's like, 2 minutes or, 15 minutes, not fair. Okay, is there any reason, like an uncle or family member named Gary, did they come up with Gary just because they like the name, or is that?
My mom, she said, tells me a story. She just, that was a name that was kind of common that they liked at the time. Well, she really wanted to name me Mike, and when I think about it. But somehow Gary was a name that they knew, and Gary and Sherry kind of rhymed, so that's how we got our names as twins, and that's the way it's been.
Yeah, you can't name a sister something that names with Mike, or
No,
rhymes with Mike.
no.
Mike and Spike. She might have been mean. Okay, so besides your twin sister, did you have other siblings?
I have an older sister, 6 years older, named Anita.
And that you'd say you just
I
had
was her
sisters?
slave. Yeah, I served her.
Oh, really? Good to know.
I always credit her for making me sick against tea. That's why I don't drink tea.
What happened?
She made a batch one time and made me literally sick, and I've never been able to drink tea to this day.
Wow.
So I've never let her live that down.
You were her slave and she made you sick with
Yeah.
tea. Yeah, I think I like her. So you had holidays and birthdays. Is there any gift that you received on a holiday or a birthday that just was your favorite ever?
Not really. We just always had a lot of helicopters and airplanes. Always got as a kid. So I always used to go out in the field and make my runway and my little town and then fly my airplanes around and anything had to do with an airplane.
Yeah. So do you think that's that led you, probably way back then, you made up your mind to be a pilot, or?
Then my dad became a pilot, and so we hung around at the airport a lot and went flying with him a lot. So that's where all that.
I did not know that. That's
went.
pretty neat. Okay, so you already told the tea story where tea made you sick. What other little sibling stories do you have? Anything else?
Oh, I have some I probably shouldn't tell.
You don't have to tell everything.
I took my sister, my twin, and I always like to climb trees as high as I could climb them. And I talked her into it one time, and she got her foot stuck in the fork of a tree. So my mom had to go get a ladder and climb up and get her out, which I thought was funny, but my mom didn't. I remember that story. I remember.
So she probably didn't want to do that anymore, just like you don't want to drink tea anymore.
Yeah.
When you were a child and you probably went to like a children's church or Sunday school, did you have a favorite Bible story?
You know, actually, I was more of a heathen, and we didn't go to church too much as a kid, so I really didn't start until I was about junior high, so I don't really remember any stories or songs.
Yeah, from when you were little.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in junior high, did you have something that really caught your imagination, or
As a song or as a story?
Either a song or a story.
I know something's going on behind me.
I'm not sure what's going on back there.
But not really that I can think of as things out.
That's good. What age were you when you first realized that you were being called to the ministry?
Probably when I graduated from high school. However, I didn't want to be a preacher because I couldn't stand to get in front of people. It made me too nervous.
Huh.
So I went to University of Evansville and was there for a year and a half, and then ended up at Ozark Christian College. Then after about a year of being there, I was about 22. At that time when I really felt convicted and knew that God wanted me to be a preacher.
Was there any specific event that really made that clear?
Well, yeah, I was searching, and when I went to college, I wanted to find my life's calling and get with it. And but I didn't know, and yet this thing seemed to be leading me to ministry, and I was fighting that. One night, I remember I spent about 2 hours in my dorm room, and I prayed and cried and prayed and cried and got on my knees. And after that, I just gave it to the Lord and said, "Okay, my life's in your hands," basically. And I surrendered and felt a wonderful peace. And then I felt the calling to go try out for a little church, which I found in Bernice, Oklahoma, and preached, and just to give it a test run. And after 6 months, I just didn't hear any voice or anything like that, but knew that this is what God wanted me to do, and that's when I buckled down and started preparing for ministry. I knew then that's what I was called to do.
So you think you just had to get over that fear of speaking in front of people? Was that a big part of that?
That was a big part of it, but I also really wanted to be a pilot, and my dad didn't want me to be, and so it was like, now what am I going to do? And yet God's hand was in that all along, and so I'm glad it ended up the way it did.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Okay, so somewhere along the line, you met a lovely lady that we all love, and how did that happen? How did you meet her?
Ozark Christian College had a day every year, the annual day called Skip Day. And it was a day when the seniors were in charge of it, and they determined when it was going to be. And so they just called it Skip Day, and that particular year it was to go to Branson, Missouri. So we went to Branson, Missouri, and somehow I ended up connecting with her, and we got together and hung out and went to Shepherd of the Hills outdoor drama, and then she ended up riding back home to the dorm with me that night, and then it just kind of started from there.
Huh, neat. Okay, so in your dating years, was there any date where you had maybe a funny mishap or a neat adventure or just something really neat that you did on a date?
Debbie will tell you that I always dragged her out to the airport so we could watch airplanes take off. But she went along with that because it gave her an opportunity to be with me, and she knew I liked to do that. Beyond that, we just enjoyed being together and doing things together, and it really didn't take much to entertain us. And so there's nothing really dramatic that stands out. We just found each other, loved each other, and was content and happy doing whatever we found to do.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah. So, is there any neat story behind your proposal to Debbie?
Well, now that's a story that I probably won't ever forget. I remember after we'd kind of gotten along far enough, I really wanted, what it was, I wanted to find out if she really liked me and if it was deep enough that she would want to marry me. And so I wanted to give her a test question. But I don't remember exactly what the question was, but it had to do something along the line with, do you think you could be happy living with me? Although living with me at that time was not the way it meant to, the way they do it today, you know. Yeah. So when she answered that, she interpreted it as a proposal, which I didn't. And the next thing I knew, we're engaged. And I went back to my dorm with mixed feelings, thinking, yes, she wants to marry me. But on the other hand, it was like, what on earth have I done? I wasn't ready at that time for that. But that's it. Just a simple question of test turned into an engagement, and we were engaged after that.
Do you feel like you knew that you'd be happy living with her, and that's why you asked it?
Yeah. I was too afraid that she would say no, so I was trying to find out if she would before I ever asked the question, because I didn't want her or anybody to ever tell me no. Oh, yeah. And I didn't, especially, of course, didn't want her to say, well, no, I don't think I want to marry you. So I was trying to find out if she would without asking that question, which I was going to do later. Yeah. But the question came out in such a way, it was like, will you marry me? And next thing I knew, that night I was engaged. It's like, awesome. Wait a minute, this is not the way it's supposed to happen.
Oh, man, that whole question succeeded beyond your wildest dreams.
She just jumped at it.
So on your wedding day, when you hope everything is going to go right, and sometimes something goes wrong and that ends up being some real funny thing or some really meaningful thing, did you have any event like that?
Well, the one thing that stands out in my mind is that I came out too soon. I mean, I was supposed to lead the groomsmen and all out, and we came out. I let them out too soon, so here we are standing in front of everybody, and it was embarrassing to me, and you know. So I always remember that. Then also, my hands were just icy cold, and we just always remember how my hands were just like ice, and standing there, I was just so nervous. It was awful.
Oh, what time of year was it? Was it cold?
Boy, I don't remember.
That's your anniversary. When's your
my anniversary.
Come on.
Yes. August the 11th. Yes.
That's fine. Oh, I think you're talking
that's
about
right.
that.
It is. Yeah.
So, to this day, when you guys want to do a neat date, what restaurant would you take her to today?
She always likes to go to Culver's.
Oh, I've seen you there. Yeah.
I mean, as far as she doesn't like to spend money on food, and so we end up. But I'd like to take her to a steakhouse or something, but she's kind of tight with money and doesn't like to spend it, so we end up in a place like Culver's.
There's nothing wrong with that. In the Dave Ramsey course, was she the nerd and you the free spirit?
Oh,
or was that kind of a mix?
I'm the spender and she was the she was the
Well,
nerd.
you got to have one or the
Yeah.
other. Remember that.
Yeah.
Remember, is it Larry Burkett that said if you're both the same, one of you is redundant?
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think it was him. Like you have to have one or the other. Or,
Yeah.
nothing gets done.
Yeah.
So, what led you to Hazelwood? How did that come about?
Well, I was preaching at Hillcrest in Bedford, and of course Steve and I had been friends since we met back in 1980, 81 when I was preaching at Eastview. And then I went my separate way because he's always been here. And he was preaching revival down in Bedford at Dive Christian Church, and we heard that he was going to be there, so we called him and Kim up because we wanted to reconnect. Got together, went out to eat, and then he brought it up that they were looking for a discipleship minister and asked me if I would be interested. And truthfully, no, I wasn't at the time. I wanted to keep preaching. So we spent 6 months, really, everything kept saying, that's what we're supposed to do. And after 6 months of praying and questioning and interviewing and all that, we decided, well, this must be what we're supposed to do. So we did, and the rest is history. Which all this thing about prayer and stuff would have never come about, I don't think, had it not been for this opportunity to come here. So that's how it happened. Here we are.
Lead us to prayer. I love that. So you would have met all these people that are now your good friends today. You would have met these folks for the first time at one point. So is there any funny or quirky or unusual meeting that you had with anybody? Did anybody give you a funny first impression? I mean, you had to meet Fred Glover.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any story that you'd want to share about that?
I think of John Smith a lot. He was just such a nut that I was always on my toes. He was always standing behind doors when I was walking in. Of course, I'm always coming in as a serious person, all business, and he about gave me a heart attack a lot of times, jumping out behind doors, and it took me a while to get used to that, and then I started paying him back for it.
Good,
John stands out in my mind a lot. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I agree. Miss that man. What have been some of your favorite Hazelwood memories?
Well, the 50 Plus group, we just love those people and enjoy going on trips. Here December, going to Mackinac Island, going up to Napanee on a trip, going to Branson, Missouri on the trips that we went. And some of those trips especially stands out in my mind is Joanne Crow. We just always had so much fun teasing her and giving her a hard time, and I'll always remember her and miss her, as we all do. And then the opportunity to get a master's degree, which the church helped me to get, is just a big deal for me as far as that experience. Not that I came here to do that, because that was already in the process. Well, I'd forgotten about it. I wasn't even going to do it. But it turned out and happened. That was special. And then I think the first prayer service that we had back in February, that we hadn't done that as a congregation, just as was really, and then the one that followed in June, which we called the breakthrough service, has just stands out in my mind that it's very special and meaningful, and memories I'll always have.
So I kind of already know this, but what are some of your favorite pastimes when you're not working here at Hazelwood and you get some free time? What's going on again? Apparently, you can't find enough to do.
I see his reflection.
So, on your free time, I know flying, but and you can elaborate on that if you like. Or what are some other things?
Well, biking. Debbie and I do enjoy biking, and I always enjoy. I also build and fly radio control airplanes. I'm involved in that. And then, yeah, anytime my son and I can go flying, enjoy that. So those are the biggies, really. And I really do love reading, believe it or not. And of course, my books are all in prayer. I mean, you know, I just, everything I can get my hands on prayer, I just love to do, and so I enjoy that.
You probably like to travel too, right? Take a vacation?
We do. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we like to get away. And
what's your favorite, like, dream vacation that you've done? Or that you plan to do?
Well, the one we've done, which I'd love to do again, we went on a cruise to Alaska, and we went with Charles Stanley on his cruise, and on that ship that summer, and it was just wonderful. And I want to go back and do that. I'd like to go to Hawaii, but Debbie doesn't like to fly very much, and it's too long of a flight, so that may not happen, which is okay. We do other things together, and but I really liked Alaska.
That's a pretty place. Let's see. What are some things that you plan to do someday, like a dream, like a bucket list type of item? Hawaii.
Hawaii would be nice, but not really counting on that too much.
Yeah.
Boy, I just, you know, one thing I really want to do, which is related to ministry, is to, excuse me, I really want to go out and help churches with prayer. I'd like to see this develop. I mean, I just love speaking and teaching, and I'd love to go out into congregations and work with congregations and have prayer seminars, working with this congregation at the same time and building that. But I don't ever really plan to retire. I know I will probably have to someday, but the church may retire me here someday, but I really like doing that sort of thing. As far as ministry goes, bucket list wise, on any other thing, I'd really like to take some more bicycle vacations like we did a few years ago. Debbie doesn't like to ride as far as I go, but I'd like to do some more of that.
That's neat. I think your idea with the prayer could bring some real unity. I think we need unity. Okay, well, is there any question that I didn't ask you, but something that you'd want to share about yourself so that congregation would know you even better?
Well, I would just say that, you know, this is a great church. I mean, working with Steve and Terry and Keith and of course Kedge, I really enjoy him as well. And it's just the staff that we have and the people that we have. You know, I see this as a real healthy congregation. And of course, in my area with the 50-plus group, the congregation as a whole are just so loving and so caring, and we just really enjoy serving here with this congregation, and we just enjoy that very much.